The air inside the mine was thick with dust and pain. The tunnels stretched for miles under the surface of Tarlon 9, a dying planet stripped of its resources by alien hands. Somewhere in the darkness, a human slave pushed a heavy or cart along broken metal rails. His name was Ethan Cole, and for 6 endless months, this place had been his prison. Sweat ran down his face, mixing with the gray grime that covered his skin. Every muscle in his back screamed, but he kept pushing. Around him, dozens of alien workers toiled in silence, their collars glowing faint blue, the mark of obedience. Ethan's collar was different. It flickered, damaged. Like its owner, it refused to completely obey. Move faster, primitive, a voice snapped from behind. The overseer, a tall reptilian named Krellin, struck the side of Ethan's cart with a shock baton. The spark lit up the dark tunnel for a heartbeat. Production is behind schedule. You want another taste of discipline? Ethan didn't answer. He'd learned that words only brought pain. But when Krellin's sneer turned into a taunt, something deep inside him stirred. Maybe we should have kept your females instead, Krellin hissed, his forked tongue flicking. They screamed sweeter than you do, human. The cart stopped moving. Slowly, Ethan turned. His eyes, dull from exhaustion, burned suddenly with fury. He stood tall, towering over the alien. Say that again, he growled, his voice low but full of danger. The other slaves backed away. They'd seen this before. Humans were unpredictable when pushed too far. Krellin smirked. Threatening a guard? That's 50 lashes. He tapped a comm device on his wrist. Security, Section 9. The savage is rebelling. 2 guards appeared within seconds, their electric batons crackling blue. They reached for Ethan's arms, but he moved first. With a roar, he slammed his head into the first guard's snout, sending him crashing into the wall. The second tried to strike, but Ethan drove an elbow into his chest, hard enough to knock the breath out of him. For a moment, silence filled the tunnel. Then the sound of a pulse pistol charging echoed. Krellin aimed it straight at Ethan's legs. On your knees, human, or I'll shoot. Ethan froze. He could fight the guards, maybe even win, but not the pistol. Slowly, he dropped to one knee, breathing heavily, his glare never leaving Krellin. The overseer stepped closer, savoring his control. That's better. Time to remind everyone what happens when a savage forgets his place. But before he could strike, a new voice cut through the tension. What exactly is happening here? The words were calm, yet carried command. Everyone turned toward the tunnel entrance. There, framed in the dim light, stood a tall figure. A woman, alien but strangely graceful. Her skin shimmered like pearl under the mine's harsh lights, and her eyes glowed faint violet. She wore an elegant uniform untouched by the dust. Commissioner Soraya? Krellin stammered, straightening instantly. Routine discipline, ma'am. The human attacked my men. Soraya's eyes flicked between the battered guards and Ethan, still kneeling but defiant. And what provoked him? She asked coolly. Krellin's jaw tightened. He's unstable. She walked closer, her every step measured and confident. When Krellin raised his baton again, her voice sliced through the air like a blade. Don't touch him. Everyone froze. Soraya studied Ethan carefully, circling him as though examining something rare. I'll buy him, she said suddenly. The entire tunnel went silent. Even Krellin blinked in disbelief. Commissioner, this one's dangerous. He's damaged property. Call him savage if you want, Soraya replied, producing a glowing credit tag from her wristband. Name your price. Krellin hesitated, then muttered a number that made even the guards gasp. Without flinching, Soraya authorized the payment. Release him. The shackles clicked open, falling to the ground. Ethan rubbed his sore wrists, unsure what to think. Prisoner one moment, possession the next. Stand up, she ordered softly. He rose, towering over her despite his exhaustion. Their eyes met, human defiance against alien curiosity. What's your name? She asked. Ethan, he said hoarsely. Ethan Cole. Soraya gave a faint smile. Well, Ethan Cole, today is your lucky day. The guard stepped aside as she turned toward the exit. Follow me. And so, under the stunned gaze of the entire mine, the human walked free for the first time in months, unaware that his freedom was only the beginning of something far greater than he could ever imagine. Ethan sat in silence as the small transport ship glided above the polluted sky of Tarlon 9. Through the tinted glass, He watched the endless sprawl of factories and smoke towers stretch to the horizon. It looked like a world that had forgotten what sunlight was. Across from him sat Commissioner Soraya, her posture straight, eyes focused on a glowing tablet as if he wasn't there. The soft hum of the engines filled the cabin. Ethan shifted uncomfortably on the seat that seemed made for someone with longer limbs and fewer bones. Every inch of him ached. He still didn't understand why this alien woman had intervened, much less paid a fortune for him. "You're staring," she said without looking up. He looked away, just trying to figure out what comes next. "Am I still a slave?" Soraya set down her tablet and met his gaze. "You were a slave. Now you are a research subject. Consider it an improvement." Ethan let out a dry laugh. "Great. From prisoner to lab rat." Her lips curved slightly. "Not a lab rat. A cultural participant. You'll live comfortably, assist me with studies on human behavior, and remain under my protection." Protection from what? Soraya didn't answer immediately. Outside, the clouds broke for a moment, revealing the capital, a vast, shining city surrounded by wastelands. "From those who would prefer humans remain buried in mines," she finally said. The ship descended toward a tall, spiral structure of glass and silver, the Aurelian Embassy. Unlike the dirty world below, the building shimmered with clean light. As they landed on a private pad, Ethan noticed how guards bowed slightly when Soraya passed. She was someone powerful, maybe dangerous. Inside, the embassy was silent and beautiful. The walls glowed faintly, changing color with her presence. Everything felt alien, but oddly peaceful. "This will be your living area," she said, leading him into a chamber with smooth metallic walls and furniture shaped like flowing water. "The cleansing facility is through there. Decontaminate. I'll have a tire sent in your size." Ethan stepped into a room that hissed with gentle mist instead of water. The vapor dissolved the grime on his skin instantly. For the first time in months, he felt human again. When he emerged, there were clothes waiting, simple, soft, perfectly fitted. As he dressed, a strange realization hit him. Someone here had thought about human comfort. Not chains, not pain, comfort. Soraya awaited him in the lounge, holding 2 crystal glasses filled with a glowing blue liquid. When she saw him, her eyes widened just slightly. "Better," she said. "Your physiology is fascinating. So much muscle density for a non-predatory species." Ethan frowned. "On my world, strength kept us alive. I was a military engineer before the Tarusians captured us." "Ah, the soldiers of Earth," she mused. "Your people were never meant to meet the wider galaxy this way. The Tarusians attacked your exploration vessel in violation of galactic code. So why didn't the Council send us home?" "Politics," she said simply. "The Council fears your kind. You are new, unpredictable, and resilient. To them, that is dangerous." Ethan clenched his fists. "So we're property until they decide we're civilized enough?" Soraya's voice softened. "I intend to change that. Understanding leads to recognition. If I can prove that humans are intelligent, emotional, and cooperative, I can sway the Council's vote. You can help me do that." He looked at her carefully. "And if I refuse?" Her eyes gleamed like amethyst. "Then I return you to the mines." For a moment, silence filled the air. Then she poured the glowing drink and offered it to him. "To beginnings," she said. He hesitated, then took it. The liquid burned like fire and honey. Their fingers brushed, and for an instant, he felt a pulse, something alive, electric. "To understanding," Ethan said quietly. Soraya smiled faintly. "To humanity." Outside, thunder rolled over Tarlon 9, but inside the embassy, a fragile alliance had been born, one that would soon shake the stars. 3 days had passed since Ethan's arrival at the Aurelian Embassy. The days were quiet but strange. He was no longer a slave, yet he wasn't free either. Cameras followed him. Guards bowed to Soraya, but watched him with curiosity, as if unsure whether he was a guest or a weapon. Ethan spent most of his time in the study hall, a massive chamber filled with holographic archives of alien history. Soraya had assigned him tasks: explain Earth's culture, emotions, and technology. She called it cultural exchange. He called it an interrogation with better furniture. Still, he couldn't deny the change. He had clean clothes, food, even a bed that adjusted to his breathing. But trust? That was harder to rebuild. One morning, while Ethan was demonstrating Earth sports on a projection table, showing how humans competed not just for survival, but for pride. Soraya's communication console flashed bright red. A robotic voice announced, "Commissioner Soraya, you have an urgent visitor. Priority access code, Ambassador class." Her expression changed instantly. Calm replaced with caution. "End simulation," she ordered softly. Ethan frowned. "Who is it?" "A problem," she murmured, straightening her dark formal coat. "Stay silent, and let me handle it." Before he could reply, the main doors hissed open, and a tall figure entered the room with the quiet confidence of a predator. His skin shimmered black like polished obsidian, his eyes glowing amber without pupils. Each step carried the weight of authority. "Commissioner Soraya," he said smoothly. "What a pleasant surprise to find you home." Soraya's tone cooled instantly. "Ambassador Vorix Dren of the Vexillian Confederation. You never visit without reason. What brings you here?" Vorix's amber gaze shifted to Ethan. A slow, delighted smile spread across his face. "So the rumors were true. You have a human." Ethan stiffened under that gaze. It wasn't admiration, it was appraisal, the kind given to an exotic pet. "This is Ethan Cole," Soraya said firmly. "He's under my protection as part of an authorized study." "Study," Vorix repeated, amused. "Is that what we call ownership these days?" He began circling Ethan, inspecting him like a rare specimen. Magnificent musculature. Strong jawline. Primitive yet noble. I must have him. Ethan's fists clenched, but Soraya spoke first. "He's not for sale." Vorix's grin widened. "Everything has a price, my dear. I'll pay you triple whatever you gave the miners." I said no. 5 times, Vorix offered, voice low and dangerous. "The Vexillian Council will not even notice the expense." I said no. Soraya repeated, each word sharp as glass. Vorix turned, folding his hands behind his back. "You've grown sentimental, Commissioner. Dangerous trait for a diplomat." Ethan finally spoke. "I'm standing right here. You can both stop talking about me like I'm a piece of furniture." Vorix looked delighted. "It speaks. How charming." "Try me," Ethan said flatly. That earned a laugh, cold and echoing. "I like him. He reminds me of the soldiers we crushed during the Zalker Rebellion. Defiant to the end." Soraya stepped closer to Ethan, placing herself between them. "Enough, Vorix. State your real reason for being here." Vorix's smile faded into something predatory. "Very well. I came with information about the other humans captured from your vessel. I know where they are." Ethan's heart stopped. "You know where my crew is?" Vorix nodded slowly. "But knowledge has value. Let's make it interesting. A contest between you and me, Soraya. 3 challenges to prove which of us better understands this creature species. And if I refuse, then I take my information and a few unpleasant rumors about your private experiments straight to the Galactic Council." The room went silent. Soraya's eyes hardened. Ethan could see the calculation behind them. She was cornered, and Vorix knew it. Finally, she spoke. "Fine. 3 challenges. But I set the first 2. You set the last." Vorix's grin returned. "Delightful. I'll enjoy this." He bowed mockingly to Ethan. "Rest well, human. Tomorrow, we begin." As the doors closed behind him, Ethan exhaled slowly. "You shouldn't have agreed to that." Soraya's voice dropped to a whisper. "Perhaps not. But I won't let him take you, or decide humanity's worth." Their eyes met, tension sparking like static. For the first time, Ethan saw something in her expression that wasn't calculation, it was resolve. And in that moment, he realized the galaxy's most dangerous game had just begun. The next morning came with the shimmer of artificial sunlight through the embassy dome. Ethan had barely slept. His mind replayed Vorix's threat again and again. 3 challenges, his crew on the line, and Soraya risking her entire career just to keep him safe. It didn't make sense. Aliens didn't take risks for humans. Not unless they had a reason. When he entered the main hall, Soraya was already waiting. She wore a deep navy uniform embroidered with faint silver threads that shimmered as she moved. Her violet eyes looked calm, but Ethan could tell she hadn't slept either. "You look tense," he said quietly. "I should be," she replied, gesturing to the holographic display behind her. "Vorix's first move is designed to humiliate us in front of the galactic elite. Tonight is the interspecies diplomatic gala. A party." Ethan frowned. "That's your idea of a challenge." Soraya gave a small smile. "It's his idea. He wants to see you fail in public. To the council, Humans are wild, unrefined, emotional, unpredictable. He expects you to lose control. Ethan crossed his arms. So I just have to not punch anyone. Her lips curved faintly. Exactly. You will attend as my diplomatic companion. You will represent humanity, calm, intelligent, adaptable. She tapped her tablet, and an image of clothing appeared, a shimmering black suit with faint metallic reflections. You'll wear this. It's formal attire, tailored to your physiology. He stared at it. It looks like something a peacock would wear to a funeral. Soraya raised an eyebrow. Consider it camouflage. Every species judges appearance first. Let them see you as more than a laborer. 2 hours later, the transport descended toward the Galactic Concord Pavilion, a floating fortress of glass and light suspended above the capital. Dozens of ships docked nearby, carrying diplomats from across the known worlds. Ethan's nerves tightened as he followed Soraya down the glowing platform, hundreds of alien eyes turning their way. Remember, she whispered, observe before you speak. Some species interpret gestures differently. Avoid direct eye contact with Teresians. Compliment a Maldorian's color shift. It means respect. And whatever happens, don't refuse food. He nodded, heart pounding. You make this sound like walking through a minefield. In a way, it is. Inside, the grand chamber shimmered like liquid crystal. Floating chandeliers cast shifting rainbows over the crowd. Beings of every shape and color, speaking in musical tones or bursts of static. Ethan felt like an animal let loose in a museum. Then Vorax appeared. Clad in crimson armor laced with golden runes, he drew attention instantly. Commissioner Soraya, he greeted, performing a graceful bow. And the human specimen. How civilized he looks. Ethan met his gaze evenly. The word is consultant. A murmur spread among nearby diplomats. Vorax's smile faltered for just a second before returning. Charming. Let's see how civilized your kind truly is. Hours passed in a blur of introductions, small talk, and endless observation. Ethan adapted quickly, mirroring tones and gestures. He spoke softly, answered carefully, and even made a few of the aliens laugh. Soraya watched from across the room, pride flickering in her eyes. But then came the real test. A Vexillian server approached, holding a tray of twitching, tentacled creatures. Galarian nerve grubs, Vorax announced loudly, drawing attention. A delicacy across the galaxy. But I doubt our human friend has the refinement to enjoy one. All eyes turned to Ethan. He saw the trap instantly, refuse and appear weak, accept and risk embarrassment. He smiled. Why not? He reached for one, ignoring the way it writhed. The texture was horrible, like chewing cold jelly filled with static, but he swallowed it without flinching. Interesting, he said calmly. Reminds me of Earth's sea urchin. Just livelier. The crowd burst into amused murmurs and applause. Even the Maldorian delegate's skin flushed bright orange, a sign of approval. Soraya's gaze met his across the room. There was pride there, and something else, something deeper. Vorax's expression, however, was pure frustration hidden behind a polished smile. Impressive, he said smoothly. Round one, it seems, goes to you. Ethan leaned closer, his tone cool. You'll need better bait next time. As Vorax walked away, Soraya joined him. That was reckless, she whispered, but she was smiling. Maybe, Ethan said, but I'm getting used to surviving alien games. She looked at him, eyes softening. Just remember, Ethan, this is only the beginning. And somewhere beyond the shining dome, the stars waited, silent witnesses to a human's quiet defiance in a galaxy that had already decided his worth. The gala had ended in triumph, but the victory didn't feel safe. Ethan had proven himself in front of hundreds of alien delegates, but Vorax's smile as he left told a different story, one that promised the next challenge would not be so kind. Back at the Aurelian embassy, Soraya walked in silence beside Ethan through the softly glowing corridors. The faint hum of distant drones filled the air. Neither spoke until the doors of her private chamber sealed shut behind them. You handled yourself well tonight, she said finally, removing her formal gloves. Better than I expected. Ethan leaned against the wall, tired but alert. You sound surprised. I am, she admitted. You adapted faster than most species do in years of training. You noticed details, mirrored behavior, and controlled your reactions. That is a rare gift, Ethan. He smiled faintly. Humans have been pretending to fit in for most of history. Survival trick. Her expression softened. Perhaps that's why your species endures. She paused, then added quietly, but Vorax will not stop here. He's already planning the next test, something more dangerous, something physical. Ethan straightened. Then we plan faster. Soraya walked to the large window overlooking the city. The lights below pulsed like veins through the metallic landscape. He wants to prove humans are a threat, that your defiance makes you too volatile for the Galactic Council to trust. If he succeeds, your people will remain enslaved. Ethan joined her at the window. And if we win all 3 challenges? Then I'll have the authority to present my report before the council, she said. And humanity will have a voice, through you. The weight of that truth sank in. One man standing for an entire species. It sounded absurd, almost cruel, but Ethan had faced worse odds before. Soraya turned to him suddenly. I've been analyzing your behavior since the mines. Your resilience is not just physical. It's emotional. You resist despair, even when logic says there's no hope. He shrugged. Hope is kind of our default setting. That made her laugh, a soft, melodic sound. Strange creatures, humans. Flattering, he said, smirking. Her laughter faded, replaced by something more serious. Ethan, why did you fight back that day in the mines? You could have been killed. He hesitated, looking at his hands, calloused reminders of every fight he'd lost and won. Because he insulted my crew. My people. You can break a human's body, but when you threaten what we protect, we don't stop. Soraya studied him in silence, her violet eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. That loyalty, she murmured, is what terrifies them. The galaxy runs on logic. You run on something else entirely. Heart, he said simply. She nodded slowly. Maybe that's what humanity's real weapon is. Before he could respond, a sharp tone echoed through the room. The embassy's AI spoke. Incoming transmission, Ambassador Vorax Drin. Soraya's posture stiffened. Put it through. A holographic image of Vorax appeared above the table, his amber eyes gleaming with malicious delight. A pleasant evening to you both, he said mockingly. I hope you enjoyed your moment of triumph. I'm here to announce the second challenge. Name it, Soraya said coldly. Vorax's smile widened. Combat simulation. A test of instinct and intelligence. Your human will face an opponent of my choosing in the arena of trials, tomorrow at first cycle. Ethan's jaw tightened. And if I refuse? Vorax leaned forward, voice dripping with satisfaction. Then I assume that means surrender, which means the human captives remain under Terusian control. The image flickered out. Soraya's fists clenched. He's forcing you into a trap. Then I'll walk into it, Ethan said calmly. But not alone. She looked at him sharply. You'd risk your life for this? He gave a tired grin. I risked it 100 times for less. For a moment, Soraya didn't speak. Then she reached out, placing a hand gently on his arm. If humanity survives this trial, Ethan, it will be because of you. He met her gaze, steady and unflinching. Then we make sure it's a fight worth surviving. Outside, the alien city pulsed with cold light, but deep inside the embassy, something warmer was beginning to spark. The fragile alliance between 2 worlds about to face its greatest test. The next morning, the sky over Tarlon 9 burned with a red haze. Vast banners shimmered across the horizon, displaying the emblem of the Vexillian Confederation. Crowds of aliens gathered outside the enormous dome known as the Arena of Trials. The event had become the talk of the capital. A human, the so-called primitive, was about to face a Vexillian champion. Ethan stood inside a preparation chamber deep beneath the arena floor. The air smelled of metal and ozone. His pulse thundered in his ears as he stared at his reflection in a blackened mirror. No armor, no weapons, just a reinforced uniform and his bare hands. Soraya entered quietly, her expression unreadable. They've set the terms, she said. No advanced technology. No firearms. Only survival. Sounds fair, Ethan muttered. It isn't, she replied flatly. Vorax chose his fighter well. The creature you'll face is a Draxier hybrid, genetically bred for war. Fast. Regenerates tissue within seconds. Its claws can cut through steel. Then I'll try not to get hugged. Soraya gave a sharp breath, almost a laugh, but weighed with worry. You joke too easily for a man walking into death. Humor keeps me from running, he said. Besides, you said the council's watching, right? Then let them see what a human does when cornered. For the first time, Soraya didn't argue. She simply stepped closer and placed something small in his palm, a thin metallic band. A neural stabilizer. It won't protect you, but it will keep you conscious longer if you're injured. Ethan slid it onto his wrist. Thanks. I'll try to make good use of staying alive. Moments later, the floor beneath him began to rise, lifting him toward the roar above. The bright light of the arena hit him like a blast furnace. He squinted as thousands of alien faces stared down from the stands, cheering, jeering, waiting. Across the arena, a massive gate opened with a hiss. The Draxier hybrid stepped out, 7 feet tall, armored scales glinting under the energy lights. Its eyes burned a molten gold, and each breath came with a growl that shook the ground. A booming voice echoed through the dome. By decree of the Vexillian Confederation, the second challenge begins. The human will either prove his worth or perish. The crowd roared. Ethan took a deep breath. Here we go. The Draxier lunged. It was fast, faster than anything that size should be. Ethan dove to the side, rolling across the sand as claws slashed inches from his back. He came up swinging, landing a solid punch across the creature's jaw. It barely flinched. Think, Ethan, he told himself. You can't win with brute force. He ducked another swipe, grabbed a chunk of broken armor plate from the ground, and used it as a makeshift shield. Sparks flew as the creature struck again. Ethan's arm trembled, but he managed to twist around and jam the edge of the plate into the creature's side. It howled, not from pain, but surprise. From the stands, Voryx leaned forward, eyes gleaming. Impressive, he murmured. Let's see how long instinct can last. The creature's claws retracted, then extended again, sharper. It swung its tail, catching Ethan across the chest and throwing him backward into the sand. The impact stole his breath, but he refused to stay down. He spat blood, grinning. That all you've got? The Draxier charged again. Ethan waited, then at the last second, dove beneath its swing, wrapping the chain from a fallen barrier around its arm. He pulled with all his strength, using the creature's momentum to drag it into a power conduit. Electricity exploded in blue arcs. The beast screamed as energy surged through its body. When the light faded, the creature lay twitching on the ground, smoke rising from its wounds. The arena went silent. Ethan stood, chest heaving, covered in dust and blood. Humans, he muttered between breaths. Always improvise. Soraya's voice echoed over the comm system. Enough. The challenge is over. Voryx rose from his seat, his smile brittle. It appears the savage survived. Ethan looked up at him, eyes blazing. No, the human did. The crowd erupted, some in shock, others in awe. For the first time, thousands of aliens had seen a man from Earth not as prey, but as a force of will. Back in the chamber, when the med drones finished sealing his wounds, Soraya entered quietly. Her expression was a mix of pride and fear. You could have died. Ethan smirked. Yeah, but then who'd keep proving your reports right? For a long moment, she said nothing. Then softly, almost like a confession, you're changing how they see us, Ethan. Even me. He smiled faintly, exhausted but unbroken. Then maybe humanity's finally doing something right. Outside, the arena's lights dimmed, but across the galaxy, a spark had been lit. Night fell over Tarlon. 9, yet the planet refused to sleep. Across the city's spires, holoscreens replayed the impossible, a single human defeating a Draxier hybrid. The galaxy buzzed with disbelief, and whispers spread through the diplomatic channels. Perhaps the humans were more than beasts after all. Inside the Aurelian embassy, Ethan sat alone on the balcony overlooking the storm-filled horizon. His ribs ached, and every breath reminded him of the fight, but it wasn't pain that kept him awake. It was what came next. The final challenge. The one set by Voryx himself. He heard soft footsteps behind him. Soraya approached, her figure framed by the glow of the city. The council has confirmed it, she said quietly. Tomorrow's trial will be the last. Voryx demanded full control of the arena, the conditions, everything. Ethan didn't look at her. So he wants to make sure I don't walk out alive. Her voice was heavy. He doesn't just want you dead. He wants humanity erased from the council's records, declared too dangerous for civilization. He finally turned toward her. Then we don't give him that satisfaction. Soraya stepped closer. Ethan, there's something you should know. The final trial isn't combat. It's choice. Choice, he frowned. She nodded. Vorax plans to test what he calls human morality. You'll be presented with two options. One will guarantee your crew's freedom. The other will save the lives of thousands of alien workers trapped in Tarusian mines. You can only choose one. Ethan froze. He wants me to choose between my people and strangers. Yes, she whispered. He believes humans are selfish, that you'll sacrifice the galaxy for your own. Ethan's jaw tightened. He's wrong. The next morning, the arena of trials opened again, filled with delegates, reporters, and council representatives from dozens of worlds. The tension was suffocating. Vorax stood in the center, his crimson armor gleaming, his grin wide and cruel. Welcome, he announced. Today, the human will reveal the true nature of his species. Compassion or corruption. Ethan was led forward to a raised platform. Before him, two glowing holographic panels appeared. One displayed the faces of his captured crew, terrified but alive. The other showed the schematic of the Tarusian mines, filled with thousands of enslaved aliens. Vorax's voice echoed across the dome. Press one button, human. Save your own and let the rest perish. Or save the masses and doom your people. The council will watch your decision closely. The arena went silent. Even Soraya, seated among the delegates, held her breath. Ethan stared at the panels. His crew had trusted him. They were his responsibility. But those miners, he remembered their faces, the fear, the hopelessness. He thought of Soraya's words, "You resist despair." He lifted his hand. For a long moment, he didn't move. Then, slowly, he pressed the second button. The panel flashed. Tarusian slaves liberated. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Vorax's expression twisted. "You condemned your own," he shouted. Ethan turned to face him, his voice steady and raw. "No, I gave them a reason to fight. That's what humans do. We sacrifice for something bigger than ourselves. You'll never understand that." Vorax lunged, rage consuming him, but Soraya stood first. "Enough," she commanded, her tone like thunder. "The challenge is complete. The council has seen the truth." Moments later, dozens of holograms appeared above the arena, the faces of the Galactic Council members. The High Chancellor spoke. "Humanity has demonstrated both strength and compassion. The Council recognizes Earth as an emerging civilization. Effective immediately, all human captives are to be released." The crowd erupted in sound, shock, applause, outrage. Soraya looked at Ethan, eyes shining with pride. "You did it." He smiled faintly. "We did it." Vorax snarled and stormed away, defeated not by force, but by humanity's heart. That night, as the stars burned brighter than ever, Ethan stood beside Soraya on the embassy terrace. The city below buzzed with change, whispers of peace, of freedom. "What will you do now?" she asked. Ethan looked at the stars, at the billions of worlds still waiting. "Go home. Tell them the galaxy isn't as cold as we thought. And maybe come back." Soraya's lips curved into a small smile. "Then may your people remember today, the day one human taught the stars what humanity means." And as the twin moons rose above Tarlon, 9, Ethan Cole, once a slave, now a symbol, watched the universe awaken to a truth it could no longer deny.